to Chassidus and Chizzuk for Parshas Tzeitzei. B'ezrat Hashem, our limud should be refuah for all of Am Yisrael, and should B'ezrat Hashem bring us closer to a pure level of tshuva and return to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Sheet. Oh, everyone on YouTube, there's a Daf Makoros on a link in the bottom. Feel really cool right now. Okay, very good. It says in the pasuk, when we look at Makor number 1, first going to have a little bit of Musar about Eretz Yisrael. Why? Why about Eretz Yisrael?
We love it.
Because the first thing we do always is learn about Eretz Yisrael. Always have to think about Eretz Yisrael. So the first thing we're going to do is learn about Eretz Yisrael. And the Sefer Tziyon from Rav Moshe Tzuriel. Torah. Lo tazgir eved el Adonav asher yinatzel elecha mi'im Adonav. Imcha yashav b'kibcha b'makom asher yibchar ba'echad sharecha. Pasuk is telling us that what? If a slave wants to leave his master in order to go to Eretz Yisrael, he has to let him. And he should dwell wherever he wants in Eretz Yisrael. Whatever is good for him. That's the loosest translation you could possibly ever give for that pasuk. Amru Chazal. Hakol ma'alim le'Eretz Yisrael ve'ein hakol motzi'in. The Gemara asks, everyone goes to Eretz Yisrael, but not everyone leaves Eretz Yisrael. What's this coming to include? This statement is including something. This is coming to include an Eved that escaped, that ran away from his master, and went to Eretz Yisrael. The Amrinan lay, sell your slave. Let's jump down 2 lines. We're going to go to the translation. Okay? It says, Betargum le'ivrit, in the parentheses. Betargum le'ivrit. My balarabot, what's this coming to include? Larabot Eved Shabarach Michul Eretz Yisrael, right? Coming to include a slave that ran away from his master. Sha'omrim lo la'adono shela Eved. They say to the slave says to the master, Timkoro tokan v'lech. Sell this slave over here and go. B'shum yishuv Eretz Yisrael. You can sell the slave, and the slave can leave for the sake of Eretz Yisrael. Okay, let's skip the middle paragraph. The middle paragraph is another din about a husband and a wife. A husband and a wife, if the wife wants to go to Eretz Yisrael, but the husband wants to stay in Galus, the woman can demand a get. She can demand divorce, and she goes to Eretz Yisrael. And the opposite occurs also. If the husband wants to go to Eretz Yisrael, and she wants to stay, it's very confusing. So in the Gemara, but also a similar concept. The husband, they're allowed to get divorced, and the husband can go to Eretz Yisrael, and she has to stay in Galus. And we don't have any tainas on the wife. The kivan sheyadanu ki hamagarish ishto rishona afilu mizbach morida loved mode. Okay, let's get down 2 lines. Based on these concepts, I know this is one of the worst explanations of these 2 concepts I've ever done in my life, but Gemara is telling us a beautiful idea. Based on these 2 Gemaras, Inyan Eretz Yisrael shechamina machrichim levnei hazug lihipared ze mizeh im mitnatek echad mehem min yishuv Eretz Yisrael. If one of these wants to separate for the sake of going to Eretz Yisrael, we allow him to separate. If an Eved wants to leave his master in order for the sake of Eretz Yisrael, we demand that he gets separated. This is how Chashav Eretz Yisrael is. A slave to a master. We're going to get back to this in a second when we give a sikum and a summary of how this is going to apply to Elul in terms of us viewing ourselves as slaves of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But view how Chashav Eretz Yisrael is, how important it is that we're willing to separate couples, we're willing to separate pairs of people in order for one of them to go to Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael is the zivug. It's the pair for Am Yisrael. So if someone wants to leave, they're going back to the rightful pair. They're going back to the rightful zivug. We're going to get back to this. I'm very sorry if this is very unclear. Okay, next source. We're going to go to the Degel Machane Ephrayim. Now we're going to have some Chizzuk on the Parsha. Ki teitzei lemilchama alevecha v'natnu Hashem elokecha b'yadecha. Right? You're going to go out to war alevecha against your enemies v'natnu Hashem elokecha b'yadecha. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he gave them. Untano Hashem elokecha b'yadecha. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave them into your hand. You saw an Eshet Yifat, you saw this beautiful woman, and you had desires for her, and you took her for a wife. Through a way of hints, through a way of pneumius, through an inner way of looking at the Torah, we can explain this pasuk. When you go out to war against your enemies, we spoke about this last week a little bit, the concept of hitorut ilatata, an awakening from our side. Right? A lot of times it comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu coming and doing something against us. The reason for Galus is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we weren't waking up to do tshuva, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu had to wake up above and had to do something towards us. But a lot of times the concept of us waking up and doing something first, us making the first move towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's a lot of time very important. So this pasuk is really referring to that concept. Now instead of talking about a milchama of war, of real battle between nations, it's really talking about me against Mei Tzahara. When I go to war against my Yetzer Hara, when I have some sort of inspiration to go against my Yetzer Hara, it's a beautiful thing he's saying. Right, it says in Shir Shem Rav in the Medrash, right, if you open for me even a small tiny little hole, a hole the size of a needle, I'm going to open up for you the biggest hole you'll ever see. Right, when a person decides, I'm going to make the first step in my relationship to Kadosh Baruch Hu, when I decide to make that first move and trying to get close to Hashem and trying to beat my Yetzer Hara, and whatever it is, I'm going to make that first step in starting some sort of piece in my Seder Limud. I'm going to make some sort of step in deciding I'm going to start watching my Lashon Hara. I'm going to make that first step in X, Y, and Z. You can name what type of thing you're going to try to be strong in. Whatever that step is, Hashem is giving us a promise that if you make that first step, that small little, even a thought of that concept, HaKadosh Baruch Hu was saying, it's yours. Because everything else, all the other hard parts of it, I'm going to give it to you. And the pasuk continues, and you saw in her capture this Eshet Yivator, this beautiful woman who you captured. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu is promising us that if we decide that we're going to go against our Yetzer Hara, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to give us the koach to conquer it. Only then, only once you realize, only once you began that step of tshuva process, of trying to make that first step towards the HaKadosh Baruch Hu, only then do you realize that the Shekhinah, who he's relating now, he's saying is a remez for that the Eshet V'Torah is really a remez for the Shekhinah, only then do you realize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is that the Shekhinah is in captivity. And you desired it, what does it mean you desire this Eshet V'Torah? Of course, at pshat level, it means that there's this beautiful woman that you captured and you want to bring her back to your home. But on a deeper level, in terms of how this affects us, because last time I went to war was never, and even if I did go to war, I don't think I'd be taking back any female captives, because we don't do that nowadays. So how does this apply to me in my real life? And that's the derech of Chassidus. The derech of Chassidus is saying, Kiteitzin Milchama, it's talking about me going against my Yetzer Hara. It's talking about me and my avodas Hashem. How is this applying to me? It's HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving me a promise. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is promising us that when we go to war against the Yetzer Hara, when we come to Nuzman, we come to Elzman, we come to Rosh Hashanah, and we say, you know what? I'm going to stop doing X, Y, or Z. And we all have in our heads the different things. I hope we all have in our heads the things that we're trying to work on, different things that in the past year we weren't strong enough in, things that we didn't do b'chlal. We make that first step, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving it, putting it in our hand. And only then do we realize, how come I don't feel Rosh Hashanah? We're going to get back to the second, but how come I don't feel Rosh Hashanah? This is the key to Rosh Hashanah. Why we don't feel Rosh Hashanah. This is the key. Zach, if I don't remember this, you remind me of this question. This is the main thing. Okay, moving on. That's Degel Machane Ephrayim. By the way, the Degel Machane Ephrayim, the historical background, is the grandson of the Baal Shem Tov, Moshe Chaim Ephrayim Mesidulkov. He's the grandson of the Baal Shem Tov. Everything he teaches, almost everything, is a teaching directly from the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh. Okay, the Kedushas Levi. We shall be zocheh to have a true tefillah like the Kedushas Levi always had. A true tefillah on behalf of all of Yisrael. B'Shem Kol Yisrael. Right? It's a beautiful concept we all know about. Bezrat Hashem will all have houses in Eretz Yisrael very, very soon with beautiful roofs, and we'll have to build a fence around it. Why? Because this is the mitzvah. When you build a house, a new house, and you're going to build a fence around your roof. Right? We all know the basic halacha. Haklal hu. But the Kedushas Levi, and only the way Kedushas Levi can, he's about to take this Torah, put it in a rocket ship, send it to space. Sending it to space. It's a rocket ship Torah. Rocket ship Torah. Haklal hu, the general rule is, this is not general. Kedushas Levi saying it, it's general. Bezrat Hashem. Kishmagia la'adam, eiz simcha mehabori baruch hu. When a person all of a sudden, I just won a basketball game. Ooh, that's simcha. I won a basketball game. That's a shot. I scored. Right? I scored, and I won the game. So now I have simcha. Ultimate simcha. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives me a simcha, as a yired ledavar diburim lahavi hasimcha b'otiyot b'torah u'b'tfilah v'shirot v'tishbachot. The second I have that level of simcha, whatever it is, I went and got Ben and Jerry's ice cream, and I went to the kotel, or I hit a last second 3-pointer shot and I won the game, or anything that happens in my life. I did all that stuff, and I have simcha. Whatever it is, it can be anything in the world, any level of simcha. From the level of the most kodesh, I had the most beautiful tefillah, or to the level of Gevalt, I woke up this morning, which is a very high level. Or Gevalt, my toothpaste tasted extra good this morning. Right? That's a crazy simcha. My toothpaste doesn't always taste good. Maybe I can get new toothpaste. I don't know. But I have a new simcha. What's the ikra avoda? Any simcha I have, very, very important. to take that simcha and put it into words. But not just words of going to my friend in the morning and saying, my toothpaste tasted so good, and then I had orange juice. Shoot. Right? So like simcha, then the ultimate atzah, so like toothpaste and orange juice, right? So I had that ultimate simcha, and I turned to my friend like, oh my gosh, it was so minty this morning. What should I do? I should take that simcha and I go downstairs to the basement. I go out to school. I go to the Beit Knesset and I say, "Thank you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for ultimate greatness of toothpaste." And then what does that do? That boom snaps you into that place of wow, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave me everything. And then your tefillah is a whole different world. So let's continue. So he says every single piece of simcha, every single feeling of simcha that you have in the world, you should translate it into letters of Torah and tefillah and shirot and tishbachot and words of praises to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why? It's very, very easy for us to leave our levels of simcha in this world. It's very easy for us to leave our levels of simcha just right? It's very easy to leave my simcha with my toothpaste. It's very easy to leave my on the basketball court. Baruch Hashem, I had a great game, hit the last second shot, my simcha is left on the basketball court. But what? The Kedushas lady is saying, let that simcha be part of your Baruch Hashem. Take that simcha and bring it up. Everything in the world we can make into a connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And if the whole point of the creation of the world is for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to do good for us, then Vadai, when I have that moment of simcha, that's HaKadosh Baruch Hu doing good for me. So I take that simcha and I put it into words. And I say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, thank you so much. And there's so many times we can say it during tefillah. You can say it not out of tefillah. Rabbi Nachman says, Yisberdus, go out to the forest, go out to the wall, go out to a tree, and say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, thank you for toothpaste. And that right there, that saying right there, has a huge level of geula. Vasita ma'aka, right, and you make a fence around your roof. Right, you take that simcha and you make it mugdar. You put it inside a fence. You say, I'm going to take that simcha and I'm going to put it in a framework of Avodas Hashem. The rest of the Kedushas Levi, I have no clue what's going on. He talked about Shem Hashem and Havaya and letters. And I don't know. I have no. Kanal is Kanireli. He's saying it's a chiddush, Kanireli. Like it as it's viewed to me, right? The rest, after the whole thing, my mind blew up. I had no clue what's going on. Okay, so let's do some quick chazar. Oh my gosh, that Kedushas Levi, it just blew my face off. If you see my face, it's an imagination. Okay, the Tzeitzei-Yonah, what's he say? The Tzeitzei-Yonah is saying that an Eved can leave his master of Galus. The Gemara tells us that what? If a person is in Galus, he's like an Oved Avodah Zarah. Boom. To all you watching. Musar! Right? If you're in Galus, if you're in Chutz La'aretz, you're like an Oved Avodah Zarah. You have no Hashem in your life.
Who said that?
Follow halacha, do everything good. There's a fabulous statement that doesn't need anything mashmuti.
Who said that?
Stop it. It's the Gemara. The Gemara in Shas. The Gemara in Shas tells us. The Gemara in Shas tells us that what if you're in Galus, you're like someone who doesn't have a Kadosh Baruch Hu as your ruler. So let's take the Tzeitzei-Yonah and make it more and more important. Someone who's in Galus, and he says, and based on the teaching from Degel Machane Ephrayim, what is Degel Machane Ephrayim? Let's go back. Degel Machane Ephrayim. We're going from different worlds right now. Tzeitzei-Yonah was written in Bnei Brak. Degel Machane Ephrayim was written in Sidlkov, Ukraine. Okay, we're connecting Eretz Yisrael and Ukraine. Bring everything up. Okay, Degel Machane Ephrayim. He says what? I forgot. What did he say? He's saying take the first step. He told you tata. You bring it up from your level. You make that first step. Chazdei Hashem, the Tzeitzei-Yonah is telling us a person who's in Chutz La'aretz, a person who's in the exile, he decides that he wants to leave his master of the exile and go back to Eretz Yisrael. And we say, let him go, no problem. He gets to go for free, collect $200, pass go. That's a Monopoly reference for those who know. Okay? It's the same teaching. A person's in Galus. A person doesn't have a level of true Shekhinah living within themselves, and he says, I want to go to Eretz Yisrael. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you're free. That's the exact same thing that Machane Ephrayim is. Sometimes, even in Eretz Yisrael, we can have a feeling of Galus. Sometimes in Galus, you can have a feeling of Eretz Yisrael. The Iker is to realize that you want to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who's the real master. A lot of times we get stuck with rulers who aren't really our rulers. Sometimes money can be our ruler. Sometimes Facebook can be our ruler. Right? You're stuck on Facebook. I really got to get off Facebook right now. Refresh. You're a slave, and you're being whipped by Facebook. Right? We all know that feeling. I know that feeling. Shana guys, let me tell you, guys don't know that feeling. Israel Hashem. Right? We say in Aleinu, right? And they dive into disgusting filth to a God that doesn't save anyone. Why are we saying that? That's lashon hara. That's not fair. Why am I saying Lashon Hara? I'm proclaiming HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the ruler of the world. So one way to view that, a beautiful kavanah, when you're saying Aleinu, is with Palim La'el Yoshia, is all the different kochos of the world. El really just means a power. So Elokim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that name is saying HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the God of all the different powers of the world. Right? Not that there's other gods, there's other kochos. Right? What are you asking? Oh, so parentheses, historical antecedent, is that the censors of the Siddur once got rid of that sentence because it was making fun of their quote unquote gods, and therefore, but now Baruch Hashem, we're back in Eretz Yisrael, the Gula is coming, and we say it now. Right? We say that now because we're in a state of almost Gula. But what's one way of viewing that beautiful piece in Tefillah? Is I'm saying I'm admitting to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that I don't submit myself to those kochos in the world that are fake gods. I don't want to say money because that just makes me feel like I'm Wall Street. But a lot of people say people on Wall Street they're slaves and they're completely subjugated to the world of money. There's some people who are completely subjugated to the world of types of things they see with their eyes. There are people who everyone has their own thing that they feel like they're subjugated to. YouTube, whatever it is. I don't know why YouTube. Yeah, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, whatever your taiva is, whatever the thing that you're bowing down to. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying that's your master of Galus. That's the slave master that you have when you're living in exile. But if you want to, if you have that one small ratzon to open up that petach of tshuva and say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I want to be closer to you. I want to come to a level of Eretz Yisrael. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us a promise. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying, you are going to go right through. Pass go. Right there. Boom. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying, I'm giving you the key. All you have to start is say, I want to start. I want to start the car. I want to start going. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying, you're going to go for free. The ultimate chizik. Especially in El HaMelech Masada. And then the Kedushas Levi tells us that what? Simcha. Every level of simcha always has to be translated into tefillah. So B'ezrat Hashem, Rav Nachman says that all of our Torah should really become tefillah, and all of our tefillah is really Torah. So B'ezrat Hashem, this Torah that we learn should be a schus for all of us. That we should begin to start on the path. B'ezrat Hashem, we all start in El, but our path towards tshuva. Rav Kook says that what? Rav Kook says that tshuva isn't supposed to be bitter. Tshuva is the sweetest taste in the world. We should be taste that sweetness, to feel the simcha of tshuva, and to take that simcha of tshuva and apply it to our Torah and our tefillah. And B'ezrat Hashem, through that, we'll be able to be zocha, to have a real elzman, to have real limud Torah, and B'ezrat Hashem, see all of Am Yisrael the kotel, and not just the kotel, the rebuilt walls, the rebuilt kotel, and the base of Mikdash B'nei B'yameinu.